Hello everyone, it's Jess Conto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland, my weekly show where I take a deep dive into a particular film, and my god, there's sound. Reaching John Ford's first sound picture, his first talkie, and it's 1929, and still have a year and 3 months to go.
Boy, did they take advantage of sound.
But joining me for this episode is my wonderful wife, Jess. Thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
She was a last-minute audible, and like a champ, watched this last night by herself, and then got ready to do.
I did every moment of it.
And I wish that I was there to see her reaction to it, but we'll get to that in a minute. But for those who haven't tuned into Welcome to the Wasteland before, we have 3 segments. We have coming attractions for this week, which is Friday, September 22nd. And then we have our feature film, which is The Black Watch. And we have some recommendations for you. But to get started with our coming attractions, this weekend is the return of the action franchise Expendables after, I think it's 9 years. I think the last one came out in 2014.
Really?
Yeah. Because it failed at the box office.
Oh, I'm just realizing how long ago that was. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That was 10 years ago. It was 2013, wasn't it?
2014, I'm pretty sure.
2014, okay.
And then we have It Lives Inside, a new Indian horror film about Indian immigrants. We have a Carlos Santana documentary. John Carney's back with a new music-based film, which I was really tempted to pick Flora and Son because I'm a big John Carney fan. There's a new Spy Kids movie going straight to Netflix. But Jess, what are you most excited about?
I'm most excited about Cassandro. I like the premise.
It's about the Liberace of Lucha Libre, Cassandro, portrayed by Gael Garcia Bernal.
He's El Exotico.
Yes, El Exotico. I did get to watch it. I did really enjoy it. And it's going to be on Amazon Prime. So it's there to stream. So you should check it out. Honestly, I think Gael Garcia Bernal, in a more just world, would be getting some Best Actor attention. But when you have Cillian Murphy, Leonardo DiCaprio, Joaquin Phoenix, and Bradley Cooper this year,
Stack column.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough competition. My most anticipated film of this weekend is Stop Making Sense, which is actually a 1984 concert documentary directed by Jonathan Demme, who did Silence of the Lambs and American History X, and it is a Talking Heads documentary concert film. So we're gonna get to watch David Byrne in his giant oversized suit dancing around on stage and singing their weird ass music for an hour and 28 minutes, which I'm pretty excited about. And we're seeing it in IMAX, so I'm gonna feel the whole experience.
That's news to me, but I'm pumped. Let's do it.
And it also is the nicer theater at AMC Cherry Hill. So
they put all of their money into that one specific theater.
I know. But it's an interesting eclectic weekend because you have Cassandro on Prime Video, No One Will Save You, a new horror film on Hulu, Spy Kids on Netflix, and a variety of different kinds of things come out in theaters. A lot of the films coming out soon are going to be Netflix, Apple TV Plus films, so it's going to be an interesting ride. Netflix is going to get a lot of attention film-wise coming up. But we're here to talk about our main feature, which is the 1929 film from John Ford, The Black Watch. And this is a pre-code film, and you could probably tell. That makes
a lot of sense.
This is an adventure epic that goes to other continents and everything. So this is pretty big scale for John Ford up to this point. This is based on a 1916 novel, King of the Khyber Rifles. And Khyber crystals?
I think maybe that's what it's named after.
If this
probably
was... they had lightsabers and everything. What a movie this would have been.
I wondered if the subtitles had it wrong, but I see now they did not.
The idea of the Black Watch is not something racist, as I found out. It's
yeah.
actually just a regiment in Scottish military.
I actually knew that from my like one-day trip to Scotland.
So that was the least.
I was hoping it wasn't a racist pun.
The title is the least racist pun of this movie. Unfortunately, it's set in India. Unfortunately, and how they portray. This is indeed the first sound film from John Ford, so I was a little surprised when I turned it on. Like, it had music over the credits, and I'm like, okay.
And then bagpipes.
And then people started talking, I'm like, oh shoot, finally made it. Finally made it to the talkies. And starring Victor McLaughlin, who turns out to be a pretty consistent star of John Ford films of the time. But Jess, what are your general thoughts on The Black Watch?
It's problematic.
Why is it problematic?
Alright, so I liked the beginning when they were in Scotland and not being...
Where they were basically... Where they were in, like, that place that looks like the Adventurers
the
Club
Adventurers
from, like...
from,
Missing Link.
An actual history that was, like, a thing.
Well, it obviously was based off of stuff.
That. Yeah, that was funny. I mean, I liked the battle scene. I thought that there were a lot of big scenes, really. Mm-hmm. And then it was extremely problematic. And then the whole, like... do I care about spoilers for 100-year-old film? The whole, like...
Well, no, we spoil things on this.
I'm white woman. I am their goddess. And they just... Everything is problematic, the way they talk about
like...
everyone, the way that they are like... I am a white woman. I'm a god. They'll do anything for me. Also, she's really horny. Dude, she gets super... I did not expect that. I'm, like, quilting away at my machine, like, looking up.
I'm going to reiterate my first note. This was pre-code.
Yeah, no, that's why I said it makes a lot of sense, because, like, as I'm feeding my quilt through the machine, I'm looking at it and I'm like, what? But yes, that makes a lot of sense that it's pre-code. In general, it did not age well. Nope.
Take, like, Temple of Doom and think about, like, they had jokes at the expense of, like, Indian cuisine and, basically all the Indian people were either, like, crazy rich Indians, who were evil, cultists, or a bunch of, like, people in rags.
It is
so, like,
level.
They're, like... It's like... I expect better from a film from the 1980s.
True.
From a film from John Ford in 1929...
I was like, this would have been from him.
This definitely would have been, like... There isn't a whole lot of sensitivity or, like...
No.
There's not a whole lot of class in the way that they present the Indian people in this film.
No.
And obviously that's the big disappointment. And, like, you have this powerful woman who's leading them, who's just, like...
the daughter of Alexander the Great for some reason, like...
They needed some reason to be like she's white. Yeah, that's why she's in India.
I honestly just figured they put her in brownface and that we were just supposed to accept that this woman was Indian.
I did put a note because I did think that's...
I thought that's what it was until she was like, I'm descended from Alex, and when I meet another white man, something prophecy.
Well, they couldn't have a white dude fall in love with a not white woman in 1929.
I mean, it's pre-code, but it's not
pre-racism.
Well,
so
indeed.
So, just to know, there's a lot of things that didn't age well about this film.
Yes, and I did start to wonder, like, 3/4 of the way through, I'm like, why is this even called The Black Watch? This has nothing to do with this regiment at this point. And then they bring him back for the ending. I'm like, so it's like a sandwich of, like, The Black Watch beginning and end. The war scenes I thought were pretty...
Well, yeah.
Progressive. I mean, maybe not progressive, but, like, I thought it was... The war scenes were handled with a lot of care, World War I, but again, through everything else, I was just like...
Like, my main notes, one, this film really struggled with energy and pacing, and it was very noticeable in the way that they utilized sound, because, obviously, this was early, so, like, they were still trying to figure it out, and it'd be like, hello, I have
That's true.
Dialogue.
I thought it was just my hearing impairment.
Just like, I have dialogue. Oh, I'm going to respond to what you said.
There was a lot of latency.
And I'm just like, was this like they had to maneuver the microphones around? Stuff like that. So, like, you can feel the lack of complete comfort with this new sound approach to filmmaking. And
transitional.
I think it made it hard to really engage in the dialogue-heavy scenes in this film.
Yeah,
which there are a lot.
Yes.
Like,
I honestly didn't care what any of them had to say. Like, the whole setup with the joke and the pretending to kill someone, I was like...
Well, and the tricky thing, too, is
what is that?
Now, you could probably name so many actors that have, like, very distinct voices.
Yeah, none of them sounded Scottish. Like...
Well, they're like... we
British.
Didn't have to think about this before.
They're British, but I was just like... I mean, I expected for... I mean, the Black Watch is fairly... well known in Scotland and is, you know...
I think there's shortcomings to the film based off of the sound, too, because I feel like they were awkward with the pacing of how the dialogue was said. Not a lot of these actors had very, like, memorable or impactful, like, voices or anything like that. Which the thing is, most of these actors were probably silent stars.
Yeah, I had trouble
and then
with
it's
the
like,
back of them.
Then it's like... Well, there's a reason that a lot of the silent stars didn't become big stars when it's talkies. It's like that joke in
Family Guy.
Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
It's like, why aren't you talking like this? And when she started talking, because like she never had to talk before. They did the whole entire thing in Babylon too.
Wasn't that a point in The Artist too? Or was he just having trouble transitioning? I don't remember.
I think he was. Well, that's
he had a heavy accent.
Yes.
Right? Oh,
so
that
like
was it. Okay.
That
was based off of someone.
Yeah, they're like Rudolph Valentino and actors like that who had thick accents, didn't transition well. It'll be interesting to see how this continues because the upcoming film has like Humphrey Bogart. One of them has Katharine Hepburn.
They both have distinctive voices.
Hi, I'm Katharine Hepburn, and I'm Mary, Queen of Scots. Because that's actually...
very believable. Yeah. Mary, Queen of Scots, famously with her Mid-Atlantic accent. Mid-Atlantic, I don't remember.
I was really impressed by the costuming, the hair design, and styling. Like, the facial hair in this.
I thought the contrast was really good, too. Like, when they were marching, you know, it's probably hard to capture. I think they're darker black kilts. It's probably hard to capture, but...
Got their kilts. They might not have sounded Scottish, but they had their bagpipes and they had their kilts.
They did. There was a lot of bagpiping.
Jess was watching it yesterday, and I could hear just bagpipes every so often.
You hear me singing to Auld Lang Syne. I love that. Love that song.
Singing.
I don't know why. It's not as good as the mad bagpiper we see. Like, there's a park near here that for some reasons on, like, Sunday mornings, there's a guy with a bagpipe that just plays it.
Did the movie need singing in it? No, but they put it in there definitely to show off the sound.
It's famously Scottish. I mean, I got a tear in my eye. I
like the very beginning of the film, within like 3 people talking, somebody started singing, and I'm like, showing off the sound.
It's New Year's, right? Too, isn't that like a framing device? Because that's a traditional New Year's song.
Like, there's a humongous focus on exposition. Like, oh my God, we can hear dialogue now. Let's tell you everything.
Yeah, this is why we orchestrated this fake death.
I appreciated the quote-unquote exotic locations and sets. Like, they went out of their way to make it feel like it's not Scotland. But the display...
Prayer, I thought, was pretty good.
The display of Indian culture just left a lot to be desired. It was very obviously like, look, we have 2 white people falling in love.
And the first non-white person is the Muslim man, and it starts with him like, Allah forgive me for my, meanness to man, and he like immediately shoves someone. I'm like, yes, this is the type of film this is going to be.
And then, legitimately, all the battle sequences are really, really impressive and shot. The camera work, stuff like that. So, like, that's where I felt like John Ford was really coming in. Because up to this point, I think John Ford has really found his visual storytelling. It's just, at some point, the vocalizations, the music, all that stuff has to catch up again.
Yeah, you can definitely see where he goes with his westerns and the framing. Because, like, there's still big shots. It's not, like, a big shot movie, but they have a lot of good ones.
And this is less than 10 years before Stagecoach. So, like...
I can see how it translates.
Be getting to there soon, months. One of those kinds of things. But, like...
Then it's a different kind of racism against Indians.
Yes, different ones.
Native Americans.
Now, Jess, do you have any other thoughts about the Black Watch?
No.
Neither do I.
I talked a lot in this one.
So... It's interesting from a filmmaking perspective, and it's revolutionary for John Ford as his first talkie. Would not recommend. It's just, they're like, just did Four Sons, and that film was incredible.
It doesn't offer a lot. For all of its flaws, it doesn't.
It only offers fleeting battle scenes, and it just feels like it's too bogged down with other stuff. But Jess, what would you like to recommend to people?
I would love to recommend, I'm so excited to recommend this. It's not Bluey. It is, they have old episodes from the 1980s of Unsolved Mysteries on YouTube. Hard recommend for me. I had a migraine Tuesday. I just popped that right on TV. And I thought about looking up some of the cases because it was like, the year is 1987. And I'm like, God, I hope they caught this man who has murdered several people. But there was no update.
You're on Unsolved Mysteries.
I know, and then it's like, update.
Who was the host of Unsolved Mysteries?
I can't remember his name.
I'm envisioning him.
I can hear him too. As soon as you said that, he's got that distinctive voice.
Robert Stack.
Yes, that's right. Yes. And these were when he was even younger than that. Like, I don't know how old they were.
Robert Stack from...
He was like only slightly middle aged.
Robert Stack from Airplane.
Oh, that's that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1941.
Hard recommend on Unsolved Mysteries.
My God, he starred in the 1942 To Be or Not to Be.
I don't like to rewatch a lot of things sometimes, except, I had a phase of rewatching.
He was Reynolds Penland in King of the Hill.
Was that the cult guy? The guy with the piggy outfit?
He was the superintendent in Recess, School's Out, the movie. He was the narrator for an episode of Angry Beavers.
Wasn't that the last episode where they, realize they're being canceled?
I like
Hercules?
the video, made for video. He replaced Charlton Heston because Charlton Heston did the narration in the movie Hercules.
Rip. Basketball?
Yeah.
Oh, he's still
he literally played himself.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I had fun with it. I don't rewatch a lot of things now that I'm out of my rewatching things phase, but I enjoyed it.
I do remember Robert Stack in his trench coat and everything.
I used to watch it, when you're sick from school, you stay home, and I used to watch that instead of The Price is Right.
I didn't stay home sick from school.
Yeah, this guy.
So.
Look at this guy over here.
So, there you go. My recommendations. So, new film, Dumb Money. The second, Holes in This House.
Oh, so yeah.
Holes in This House. It started playing WAP and then ended with Seven Nation Army. The music's impeccable. Craig Gillespie is great. I love him as a director with I, Tonya, this. Even something like Cruella, he brought a lot of personality to.
We like this stuff.
Paul Dano, really good. Pete Davidson.
I believe him as
his asshole brother.
Terrible brother, yeah.
Really love America Ferrera. Mm-hmm. Good for her and her 2023.
We're rooting for her.
Anthony Ramos, the guy from who works at GameStop in the film.
Rooting for him, too.
And then you have Vincent D'Onofrio, Seth Rogen, and Nick Offerman, and Sebastian Stan as,
we're not rooting for
the
them.
not great people. The hedge fund people and Robin Hood. I don't think it's as good as The Big Short, but it's so entertaining. Oh, and Shailene Woodley, who plays Paul Dano's wife.
I thought you looked familiar.
It's a great cast, great music, score's really good, builds some good tension, will piss you off,
it's fun
as
to
it
watch
should.
That unravel in real time.
Yeah, and then all the memes.
Oh, from Wall Street Bets?
they incorporate all the memes from the whole situation into the film, which is a lot of fun. And now for something much more depressing. This is a watch list film for me, The Lost Weekend.
Oh, yeah, that was a rough watch.
Billy Wilder not only knows how to make rom-coms and noir, but could also depress the hell out of you, showing a guy with horrible alcoholism. And such a...
He's an
George Millard?
That's like an old term, I think, alkies. I've heard of it, but not like...
Like, there is actually legitimately... Ray Milland.
It was uncomfortable.
There is some legitimate horror scenes. Mm-hmm. Like when he gets put in that asylum.
Oh, yeah.
And then the frickin' bat and the rat in the
gets
wall.
DT.
Yep. It's intense. Mm-hmm. And it's a really impressive film. Really well written. Really well acted. And my rewatch of one of my own movies, Big Lebowski.
Yeah, we had fun.
I've just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in. Stuck in my head.
It's a great jam.
I'm going to be doing a special episode of Wasteland Talks of Song Maketh the Scene, and it will be that sequence Gutterballs from the Big Lebowski. The Coen brothers are unmatched in their ability to make memorable minor characters.
There's a lot of them in this.
From Liam, the Jesus's partner, who we see like shaking his belly at the beginning of the movie, and him like just nodding along to whatever the Jesus said. Like the Jesus has a hype man. From his landlord to the fascist sheriff of Malibu.
Santa.
Who just like chucks his mug at. There's like, you freaking fascist!
Even the funeral director is pretty.
This is our most modest receptacle. Just because we're bereaved doesn't make us sex!
There's new laws about that too. If you care about death.
Oh, what did they say? It's like, is there a raise around here or something like that so they can buy a Folgers can? Just the characters are amazing. It's hilarious. It's a great noir film too. It's a really great homage to like those Raymond Chandler like PI films, because that's what the dude is.
Once you pointed that out, I was like,
well, that's why they have the brother Seamus.
the other PI.
Lou Polito.
I'm the brother Seamus.
Yeah. Oh my god. And
we should work together.
And you just thought you just met me,
and you thought special lady,
and you just met me, and you thought that like I'm some F up deadbeat. He's like, well, aren't you? Yeah.
That I always cringe at that scene. Was like, this man walks, dude. I've never been too shy.
I will. God. If I could go back in time and make sure that one actor got not only nominated but won an Academy Award, I'm going back to the 1999 Oscars for 1998 released The Big Lebowski, and I'm sorry, Michael Caine. Oh no, that was 99.
We'll have 98. Other chances.
John Goodman should have an Oscar for playing Walter Sobchak from this movie.
And he just went.
I am the walrus.
That part of the end.
Shut the F up, Donnie!
Where he's fighting the nihilists and he's just like...
You anti-Semite!
I got a gun. And just hucks the bag. That's when you know it was going to be a good time.
It's like...
There's the bowling
are they going to hurt us, Walter? It's like, no, Donnie. They're nihilists. Bunch of cowards. I could probably quote the whole entire movie, but I won't because we're not going to be sitting here for 2 more hours. But Jess, thank you so much for coming on for this episode last minute of Welcome to the Wasteland.
You're welcome.
And thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.